The sky turned a molten gold as Cassandra Lawton's wagon rolled out of Prosperity, Kansas, trailing a storm of dust and whispers. Banished from the only home she'd ever known at 23, she gripped the reins so tightly her knuckles matched the white of her simple cotton dress, now stained with tears she refused to acknowledge. It was 1878, and a woman with ambitions beyond marriage and motherhood might as well declare herself a witch. "You'll regret this foolishness, Cassandra." Reverend Wilson's voice still echoed in her ears, even as the town disappeared behind her. "A woman doctor. It's against God's plan." The words stung, but not as deeply as the memory of her father turning away when the town council cast their vote. 9 years she'd spent studying medical texts in secret, treating animals, and then people who couldn't afford the town doctor. 9 years of dreams shattered in a single afternoon meeting. The late September air carried a chill that promised an early winter. Cassandra had enough supplies to last her through to the next town, maybe 2 if she was careful. Her medical bag, the one her mother had sewn for her before consumption took her 3 winters past, sat beside her, containing her most precious possessions. A stethoscope ordered from a Chicago catalog, surgical tools she'd saved years to purchase, and medical journals she'd practically memorized. By nightfall, she made camp beneath a copse of cottonwood trees. The fire she built was small, just enough to heat a tin of beans and keep the howling coyotes at a distance. Spreading her blanket on the hard ground, Cassandra stared up at the stars, feeling utterly alone yet strangely free. "I'm not wrong," she whispered to the vast emptiness. "I know I'm not wrong." After 5 days of travel, the landscape began to change. The flat Kansas prairie gave way to rolling hills, and distant mountains appeared on the horizon like sleeping giants. Her supplies were dwindling faster than anticipated. A rainstorm had soaked her flour, and a fox had made off with her salted pork when she'd stepped away to gather kindling. On the 7th day, disaster struck. The left wheel of her wagon hit a deep rut in the trail and cracked with a sound like breaking bones. Cassandra climbed down to inspect the damage, her heart sinking. The wheel wasn't just damaged, it was beyond her ability to repair with the tools she carried. "Perfect," she muttered, kicking at the dirt. She was miles from anywhere, with no idea how far to the next settlement. That night she camped beside her crippled wagon, rationing the last of her beans. The looming darkness seemed to press in closer than before, and for the first time since leaving Prosperity, Cassandra wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. Not in pursuing medicine, never that, but in believing she could forge her own path alone in this unforgiving country. Morning brought no solutions but did deliver an unexpected sight. Dust on the horizon, moving steadily closer. Cassandra stood, shielding her eyes against the rising sun. A rider, 1 horse, approaching at an unhurried pace. She reached for her father's old revolver. She knew how to shoot, another skill the good people of Prosperity had found unladylike but had never fired at a person. As the rider drew nearer, she could make out a broad-shouldered silhouette, the distinct shape of a cowboy hat against the sky. "Hello, the camp." A deep voice called when he was still a good distance away. Coming in friendly, Cassandra kept the revolver ready but lowered it slightly. "Come ahead slowly," she called back. The man eased his horse forward at a walk. He was tall in the saddle, with sun-bronzed skin and dark hair that curled at the collar of his denim jacket. A carefully trimmed mustache framed his upper lip, and his eyes, clear blue like mountain lakes, assessed her situation quickly. "Wheel trouble?" he asked, tipping his hat. "Matthew Langtry." "People call me Matt, Cassandra Lawton." She kept her tone businesslike. "And yes, the wheel gave out yesterday." Matthew dismounted with fluid grace, his spurs jingling softly as his boots hit the ground. "May I?" he asked, gesturing toward the wagon. Cassandra nodded, watching carefully as he crouched beside the broken wheel. He examined it with practiced hands, testing the axle and the remaining spokes. "Bad brake," he said finally, "but not impossible. I've got some tools in my saddlebags that might help, but I'd need wood for new spokes." He glanced up at her. "Were you headed somewhere specific, Miss Lawton?" "Dr. Lawton," she corrected automatically, then immediately regretted it. Most men didn't take kindly to a woman claiming such a title. But Matthew Langtry just raised an eyebrow, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Doctor," he repeated, standing to his full height. "Well now, that's interesting. Self-taught or formal schooling?" The question caught her off guard. No demands for proof, no immediate dismissal. "Self-taught," she admitted. "Though I've read every medical text I could get my hands on. I apprenticed myself to our town doctor without his knowledge by treating patients he wouldn't see." Matthew whistled low. "Impressive determination. Where are you headed, Dr. Lawton?" Cassandra faltered. "I don't exactly know, away from Kansas. Somewhere that might accept a woman doctor." Understanding dawned in his eyes. "Cast out, asked to leave," she corrected, chin lifting, "for the good of community morals." Matthew shook his head, a flash of something like anger crossing his features before he controlled it. "There's a town about 15 miles northwest of here. Hot Springs, South Dakota Territory. Small place, growing fast because of the mineral springs. No doctor there since old Doc Harmon died last winter." Hope flickered in Cassandra's chest, but she tamped it down. "And would they welcome a woman doctor?" Matthew considered this, absently running a hand along his horse's neck. "It's a frontier town. People care more about results than conventions. I ranch about 10 miles outside of town." He paused, then added, "Your path is welcome there, Dr. Lawton. At least, it would be by those who matter." Something about his steady gaze made Cassandra believe him. "I could escort you," he offered. "Help fix your wagon first. I was heading back home anyway after delivering some horses to Fort Leavenworth." Cassandra hesitated. Trusting a stranger a man wasn't something she did lightly, yet there was something straightforward about Matthew Langtry that spoke of honesty. "Why would you help me?" she asked directly. "Because my mother died of childbed fever when I was 12, he said, his voice matter of fact but with an undercurrent of old pain. "The nearest doctor was 2 days' ride away. Might have been different if someone with medical knowledge had been closer." He shrugged. "Or maybe because I believe people should be judged by their capabilities, not their britches." Cassandra couldn't help the smile that tugged at her lips. "That's an unusual perspective, Mr. Langtry." "Matt," he corrected, "and not where I come from. My pa raised my sister and me to believe ability matters more than anything else." His eyes crinkled at the corners. "My sister runs our ranch accounts better than any bank clerk in the territory." Cassandra considered her options, which were admittedly few. "Very well, Matt. I accept your help gratefully." They set to work immediately. Matt rode into the nearby woods and returned with suitable branches for wheel spokes. He worked methodically, his hands sure and skilled as he shaped the wood with tools from his saddlebags. Cassandra assisted where she could, learning quickly what he needed before he asked. By late afternoon, they had fashioned a serviceable, if not beautiful, replacement wheel. As Matt tightened the last fitting, he wiped sweat from his brow. "It'll get you to Hot Springs," he said. "Wouldn't trust it much farther than that." "That's all I need," Cassandra replied, genuine gratitude in her voice. They camped together that night, sharing Cassandra's dwindling supplies and Matt's more substantial ones. Over a fire that pushed back the evening chill, Matt told her about Hot Springs, the growing town built around natural springs believed to have healing properties. The mix of settlers, prospectors, and ranchers who called it home. "The town needs a doctor," he said, poking at the fire with a stick. "Doesn't much matter what kind as long as they know their business." "And you believe I do?" Cassandra asked, surprised. Matt's eyes caught hers across the flames. "I've been watching you tend that fire, organize our supplies, even the way you move. You've got careful hands and a methodical mind." "That tells me more than any diploma could." Heat that had nothing to do with the fire rose to Cassandra's cheeks. She wasn't accustomed to being seen, truly seen by anyone, let alone a man like Matthew Langtry. They set out at dawn the next morning. Cassandra drove her wagon while Matt rode alongside, occasionally ranging ahead to scout the trail. The repaired wheel held, though it made a distinctive wobble that Matt assured her wasn't a concern for the short distance they needed to travel. "Tell me about your interest in medicine," Matt said as they traveled across the rolling grassland. "That's not exactly a common calling for a woman." Cassandra's hands tightened on the reins. "My younger brother fell from a tree when I was 14. Broke his arm badly, the bone came through the skin." She swallowed hard at the memory. "The doctor was drunk, said it poorly, it never healed right, and Calvin lost most use of that hand." She glanced at Matt, who was listening intently. "I decided then that I could do better. Started reading, watching, learning. When Calvin caught scarlet fever 2 years later, I knew what to do: cool baths, willow bark tea. The doctor said it was a miracle he survived, but it wasn't. It was knowledge and care." "And your parents?" Matt asked. "My mother encouraged me secretly." "My father," Cassandra sighed. "He's the town blacksmith, believes a woman's place is in the home. When Mother died, I think he hoped I'd give up my foolish notions. When the town council voted to ask me to leave, he didn't speak against it." Matt was quiet for a long moment. "His loss," he finally said. "Some men are too blind to see the value right in front of them." The terrain grew more rugged as they crossed into Dakota territory. By late afternoon of their second day traveling together, Matt pointed to a line of dark green on the horizon. "The Black Hills," he said. "Hot Springs lies in their shadow. We'll be there by tomorrow evening." That night, they made camp in a sheltered draw. The October air had a sharper bite this far north, and Cassandra was grateful for the extra blanket Matt insisted she take from his supplies. "I've slept on the open range in December," he assured her. "This is practically summer weather to me." After their meal, Matt pulled a small harmonica from his pocket and played a few soft, wandering melodies. The music drifted up to join the stars, and Cassandra felt a strange peace settle over her. For the first time since leaving prosperity, the future seemed to hold possibility rather than just uncertainty. "You have family waiting for you in Hot Springs?" she asked when he paused his playing. Matt tucked the harmonica away. "My sister, Charlotte, we call her Charlie. She's 20, fierce as a wildcat and twice as clever. Our ranch hands who might as well be family. Pa passed on 3 years ago. Heart gave out while he was mending fence." A shadow passed over his face. "Would have helped if we'd had a doctor nearby then, too." "I'm sorry," Cassandra said softly. Matt nodded his acknowledgement. "What about you? Besides your father and brother, any family?" "Just Calvin. He's 19 now, works as a clerk in the general store." Cassandra poked at the fire. "He wanted to come with me, but I wouldn't let him. He's courting Martha Wilson, the Reverend's daughter, ironically enough. He has a chance at a good life in prosperity." "And you?" Cassandra looked up, meeting his steady gaze. "I have a chance at a meaningful one elsewhere, I hope." The next day brought them into increasingly beautiful country. The plains gave way to rolling foothills, dotted with pine and spruce trees. By midday, they could see mountains clearly, dark and imposing against the sky. My ranch is in that direction, Matt said, pointing northwest. But we'll go to town first, get you settled. As the sun began its descent, they crested a rise, and below them spread a small but bustling settlement nestled in a natural valley. Steam rose from several points around the town, ghostly white against the darkening sky. The springs, Matt explained. Natural hot water. Some folks think it cures everything from rheumatism to melancholy. Does it? Cassandra asked, her scientific curiosity piqued. Matt chuckled. Seems to ease joint pain right enough. As for the rest, well, sitting in warm water with a beautiful view rarely hurts anyone's spirits. They rolled into hot springs as lamps were being lit in windows. The main street bustled with activity, miners coming in from claims, ranchers finishing business before heading home, shopkeepers closing up for the day. Several people called greetings to Matt, eyeing Cassandra with undisguised curiosity. Matt directed her to a modest boarding house run by a plump, gray-haired woman he introduced as Mrs. Fielding. "Margaret, this is Dr. Cassandra Lawton," he said, the title rolling naturally off his tongue. "She's considering setting up practice here. Can you put her up for a few days while she gets her bearings?" Mrs. Fielding's eyebrows rose at doctor, but she recovered quickly. "Of course, Matthew. Always room for a new face, especially one with useful skills." She smiled warmly at Cassandra. "You'll want the room with the side entrance if you're planning to see patients. Previous tenant was a dressmaker who needed the same." Cassandra blinked in surprise at the easy acceptance. "Thank you, Mrs. Fielding. That sounds perfect." As Cassandra settled her things in the neat, clean room, Matt promised to return the next morning. "I'll introduce you around town, help you get established." "You've done so much already," Cassandra protested. "Surely you need to get back to your ranch," Matt shrugged. "Charlie's got things well in hand. Besides," he added with a small smile, "I've got a vested interest in bringing a doctor to Hot Springs. Purely selfish motives." But as Cassandra watched him walk away, his tall figure disappearing into the evening shadows, she suspected there might be more to Matthew Langtry's interest than just securing medical care for his community. After a restful night in an actual bed, Cassandra woke eager to explore her potential new home. She dressed carefully in her best skirt and shirtwaist, pinning her chestnut hair into a neat bun at the nape of her neck. Her medical bag, as always, came with her. Matt arrived promptly at 9, freshly shaved and wearing a clean shirt beneath his denim jacket. "Ready to meet Hot Springs?" he asked. The town proved to be larger than it had appeared from a distance, with several streets branching off the main thoroughfare. Matt seemed to know everyone, introducing Cassandra with the same steady assurance. "This is Dr. Lawton, considering setting up practice here." Some showed surprise, a few skepticism, but most responded with cautious interest. By midday, they'd visited the general store where the owner, Mr. Crawford, mentioned his wife's troublesome cough, the bank, whose manager had a daughter with recurrent fevers, and the telegraph office, operated by a man with hands so gnarled by arthritis that Cassandra immediately began thinking of treatments. They paused for lunch at a small cafe where the owner, a vivacious woman named Rosa, served them enchiladas and refused payment. "Matthew Langtry saved my Lewis from a stampede last spring," she explained to Cassandra. "He eats free in my establishment for life, and so does his lady friend." "Oh, we're not," Cassandra began. "Dr. Lawton and I are acquaintances," Matt said smoothly. "I'm just helping her get established." Rosa looked between them with knowing eyes. "Of course, just acquaintances." She winked at Cassandra. "For now." After lunch, Matt showed Cassandra a small building on a side street. "This was Doc Harmon's office and home," he said, unlocking the door with a key he produced from his pocket. "Town council's been maintaining it, hoping to attract a new doctor. It's yours if you want it." Cassandra stepped inside. The front room was clearly set up as a waiting area, with chairs lining the walls. Beyond it was an examination room with a table, cabinets, and shelves still containing medical supplies. A door at the back led to modest living quarters, a bedroom, small kitchen, and sitting area. "It's perfect," Cassandra breathed, running her fingers along the examination table. "But surely they'll want to interview me, check my qualifications." "Mayor Jenkins is also the town blacksmith," Matt said. "His son broke his leg last month. Had to be taken all the way to Rapid City for treatment. Trust me, if you can set a bone and stitch a wound, they'll be grateful to have you." As if on cue, the door opened, and a wiry man with iron gray hair and a full beard stepped in. "Langtry," he nodded. "This the doctor you telegraphed about?" Cassandra shot Matt a surprised look. He'd sent a telegram about her. "Mayor Jenkins, meet Dr. Cassandra Lawton," Matt said. "Dr. Lawton, our mayor and finest blacksmith this side of the Missouri." Jenkins looked Cassandra up and down, his expression unreadable. "A female doctor, eh? That's a new one." Cassandra straightened her shoulders. "Medicine knows no gender, Mr. Jenkins. Disease and injury certainly don't discriminate based on who's treating them." The mayor's serious expression cracked into a sudden grin. "Spunky, I like that." He extended a calloused hand. "Hot Springs needs a doctor, Dr. Lawton. Don't much care what package they come in, long as they know their business. You know yours." "I do," Cassandra said firmly, shaking his hand. "Then the office is yours for 6 months trial. Rent-free to start. Town council voted on it last night after Langtry's telegram arrived. We need to see if you stay and if folks take to you." Cassandra felt a surge of gratitude and determination. "Thank you, Mayor Jenkins. I won't let you down." After the mayor left, Cassandra turned to Matt. "You sent a telegram about me." "When?" "From the last town we passed through," he admitted. "Figured it would smooth the way." Was that overstepping? She should have been annoyed at his presumption, but instead found herself touched by his foresight. "No, it was thoughtful, thank you." They spent the rest of the afternoon taking inventory of the medical supplies left behind by the previous doctor. Matt proved to be knowledgeable about many of the herbs and remedies, explaining that ranch life had taught him basic medical care by necessity. "This one," he said, holding up a jar of dried leaves, "is good for chest congestion. And this," he pointed to another, "makes a poultice that draws infection." "You'd have made a decent doctor yourself," Cassandra observed. Matt laughed. "No, I don't have the patience or the steady hand you do. I'm better with horses and cattle than people, most days." By evening, they had organized the office to Cassandra's satisfaction. Matt helped her move her belongings from the boarding house, carrying her trunk with easy strength. "I should get back to the ranch tonight," he said once everything was settled. "Charlie will be wondering what's delayed me." Cassandra felt a surprising pang of disappointment. In just a few days, she'd grown accustomed to Matt's calm presence, his quiet humor, his unflagging support. "Of course," she said, hoping her voice sounded normal. "You've done so much already, I can't thank you enough." Matt hesitated at the door. "I'll check in on you in a few days if that's all right. Make sure you're settling in." "I'd like that," Cassandra admitted. After he left, the small building felt suddenly emptier. Cassandra busied herself with arranging her personal items, trying not to think about how quickly Matthew Langtry had become important to her. The next morning, she hung a simple sign outside. "Dr. C. Lawton, physician." By noon, she had her first patient, Mr. Crawford's wife, with her persistent cough. By day's end, she'd seen 6 patients, including a young miner with a gashed hand and Rosa's daughter with an ear infection. Word spread quickly, and by the end of her first week in Hot Springs, Cassandra's practice was steadily growing. Some came out of curiosity, others out of desperate need, but all left with treatment and the knowledge that the new doctor, woman or not, knew her business. True to his word, Matt rode into town 3 days after he'd left her. He found Cassandra treating a rancher's son for a snake bite. "Hold still, Jimmy," she was saying as Matt entered. "I need to clean this thoroughly." The boy, about 10, was putting on a brave face, but tears streaked his dirt-smudged cheeks. Cassandra worked efficiently, cleaning the wound with an antiseptic solution, then applying a poultice. "You're doing well," she told the boy. "This was a dry bite, not much venom. But we still need to keep it clean to prevent infection." Matt waited quietly until she'd finished bandaging the boy's leg and sent him home with his father, along with instructions for care. "Impressive," he said when they were alone. "Rattler," Cassandra nodded, washing her hands in a basin. "Yes, but as I told them, it was likely a defensive strike without much venom. Still, better safe than sorry." "You seem to be settling in well," Matt observed, looking around at the now well-organized office. "Thanks to you," Cassandra said. "I've had more acceptance here in a week than in years back in Prosperity." "People here judge on results," Matt said, "and from what I hear, your results speak for themselves." He'd brought supplies from his ranch: fresh eggs, butter, a roast of venison. "Charlie insisted," he explained. "She's eager to meet you." "I'd like to meet her too," Cassandra said, accepting the gifts. "Perhaps I could ride out to your ranch sometime. It would be good to know where my patients live." Something lit in Matt's eyes. "I'd like that. Maybe Sunday, things are quieter then." Sunday arrived clear and cool, a perfect October day. Matt came to town to escort Cassandra to his ranch, providing a gentle mare for her to ride. Cassandra wore her divided riding skirt, another garment that had scandalized Prosperity, but seemed perfectly acceptable in Hot Springs. The ride took just over an hour, following a well-worn trail that wound through pine-covered hills and across open meadows. As they crested a final rise, Cassandra caught her breath at the view. Below stretched a beautiful valley, bisected by a clear stream. A substantial ranch house of hewn logs stood near the water, surrounded by corrals, a barn, bunkhouse, and other outbuildings. Cattle grazed on the hillsides and horses ran in a large paddock. "Welcome to the Flying L," Matt said, pride evident in his voice. As they rode down into the valley, a slender young woman emerged from the house, shading her eyes against the sun. Charlie Langtry had her brother's dark hair, worn in a long braid down her back, and the same direct gaze. She wore men's trousers and a flannel shirt without apology. "About time you brought her around, Matt," Charlie called as they dismounted. "I was beginning to think you were keeping the new doctor all to yourself." Matt's ears reddened slightly. "Charlie, this is Dr. Cassandra Lawton. Dr. Lawton, my impossible sister Charlotte." "Call me Charlie," she insisted, shaking Cassandra's hand firmly. "Everyone does except Matt when he's annoyed with me. And call yourself Cassandra, at least while you're here. Doctor can wait until someone needs stitching up, which, given the clumsy fools I work with, might not be long." Cassandra liked Charlie immediately. There was a refreshing directness to her that reminded Cassandra of what she'd first appreciated about Matt. The ranch house was comfortable and well kept, with large windows that captured the stunning views. Charlie had prepared a hearty midday meal, and over roast beef and potatoes, she peppered Cassandra with questions about her medical training, her journey west, and her impressions of Hot Springs. "Matt's been singing your praises," Charlie said, ignoring her brother's warning look. Says you're the best thing to happen to Hot Springs since the springs themselves. Charlie, Matt muttered. What? It's true. You talked about her all through supper the night you got back. Cassandra felt a warm glow at this revelation. Matt's been extraordinarily kind, she said. I wouldn't be here without his help. After the meal, Matt took Cassandra on a tour of the ranch. They walked side by side along the stream, then through the corrals where Matt showed her his prize horses. My father started breeding quarter horses 15 years ago, he explained, stroking the neck of a magnificent chestnut stallion. We've built a reputation for quality stock, sell to ranchers all over the territory now. It's impressive, Cassandra said honestly. You've built something meaningful here. Matt looked around the ranch, his expression thoughtful. Pa always said land gives a man roots, but it's what you build on it that gives life meaning. I think he'd be proud of what we've kept going. As they walked back toward the house, Matt cleared his throat. There's a dance in town next Saturday, harvest celebration. I was wondering if you might want to attend. With me. Cassandra glanced at him, surprised by the hesitancy in his voice. Are you asking to court me, Matthew Langtry? He stopped walking, turning to face her directly. I believe I am, Dr. Lawton, if that's not unwelcome. The breeze ruffled his dark hair and sunlight caught in his blue eyes. Cassandra realized with sudden clarity that this man, this kind, straightforward, supportive man, had come to mean a great deal to her in a very short time. It's not unwelcome at all, she said softly. The smile that spread across his face was like sunrise breaking over the hills. The week leading up to the dance passed in a blur of patience and preparations. Word had spread throughout the surrounding area that Hot Springs had a doctor again, bringing people from as far as 20 miles away. Cassandra treated everything from toothaches to a complicated birth that kept her awake for 36 hours straight. Through it all, Matt was a steady presence, stopping by her office every other day with small gifts, fresh bread from the bakery, a jar of honey from a farmer whose child she'd treated, wildflowers gathered on his ride into town. Each visit left Cassandra looking forward to the next, her feelings deepening in ways that both excited and frightened her. The night of the dance arrived crisp and clear, with a full moon rising over the hills. Cassandra wore her best dress, deep blue wool with a fitted bodice and modest bustle, trimmed with lace at the collar and cuffs. She'd let her hair down from its usual practical bun, pinning just the sides up and allowing the rest to fall in soft waves down her back. Matt arrived promptly, looking handsome in clean dark trousers, a white shirt, and a vest. He stood speechless for a moment when she opened the door. You look beautiful, he finally said, his voice soft with genuine admiration. The dance was held in the town's largest building, a combination town hall and church. Lanterns hung from the rafters, casting a warm glow over the cleared space. A small band played lively tunes as couples twirled across the wooden floor. Matt and Cassandra's entrance caused a stir. The town had been watching their growing courtship with interest, and seeing them arrive together confirmed what many had suspected. Cassandra felt self-conscious under the attention until Rosa bustled over, drawing her into the circle of women who stood chatting near the refreshment table. About time our Matthew found himself a suitable woman, declared Mrs. Fielding. Been too long alone on that ranch with just his sister for company. And such a useful match, added Mrs. Crawford. Doctor and rancher, very practical. Cassandra found herself both amused and touched by their easy acceptance of her relationship with Matt. In prosperity, such a rapid courtship would have sparked scandal and disapproval. Here, it was simply noted with approval. Matt rescued her from the good-natured interrogation, leading her onto the dance floor as the band struck up a waltz. His hand at her waist was warm and steady, his movements surprisingly graceful for a man who spent his days on horseback. "You dance well," Cassandra commented as he guided her through a turn. "Ma insisted we learn," Matt replied with a small smile. "Said even ranch folk needed culture." They danced until Cassandra's cheeks were flushed and her feet began to ache pleasantly. Between dances, Matt introduced her to ranchers and townsfolk she hadn't yet met, his pride in her evident in every introduction. As the evening grew late, Matt suggested they step outside for some air. They walked to a small garden behind the hall, where the moonlight silvered the autumn flowers and cast long shadows from the pine trees. "I've been meaning to ask," Matt said as they strolled between the plantings. "Have you heard from your brother since you left Kansas?" Cassandra's happiness dimmed slightly. "No, I sent a letter when I arrived, letting him know where I'd settled, but it's too soon for a reply. You miss him?" "Very much. Calvin was always my champion, even when no one else was," she sighed. "I hope he understands why I had to leave." Matt stopped walking, turning to face her, the moonlight caught in his eyes, making them luminous. "Family is important," he said softly. "When you love someone, you want them to follow their heart, even when that path leads them away from you. Is that what you believe?" Cassandra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's what I know," Matt said. Slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, he leaned down and pressed his lips to hers. The kiss was gentle, almost reverent. Cassandra had been kissed before, awkward, fumbling embraces from boys in prosperity who'd seen her as a challenge, but never like this. Never with this sense of rightness of coming home. When they parted, Matt's expression was tender but serious. "I'm falling in love with you, Cassandra Lawton," he said simply. "I think I started falling the moment you corrected me about your title and didn't back down." Joy bloomed in Cassandra's chest, bright and warm. "And I with you, Matthew Langtry, from the moment you said my path was welcome here." Their second kiss was deeper, a promise exchanged without words. When they returned to the dance, hand in hand, Cassandra felt as though she was floating rather than walking. As October gave way to November, Cassandra's practice continued to grow, and her relationship with Matt deepened. He rode into town twice a week, sometimes staying to help her organize supplies or repair things around her small home and office. On Sundays, she rode out to the Flying L, where she and Charlie became fast friends despite, or perhaps because of their different temperaments. News from Prosperity finally arrived in the form of a letter from Calvin. He wrote of his concern when she'd left, his relief upon receiving her letter, and his pride in her accomplishments. "Martha and I are to be married in the spring," he wrote. "Reverend Wilson still frowns when your name is mentioned, but Father asks about you more often than he'd admit. I've told them both how well you're doing. Perhaps someday they'll understand what I already know, that your calling is as real and important as any man's." The letter brought both joy and a tinge of sadness. Cassandra missed her brother and, despite everything, her father too. But as she looked around at the life she was building in Hot Springs, her thriving practice, her growing circle of friends, and most of all, her deepening relationship with Matt, she knew she'd found where she belonged. Winter descended on the Black Hills with a vengeance in early December. Heavy snows blanketed the town, making travel difficult but not impossible. Matt still made his regular trips, sometimes fighting through drifts to reach Cassandra. On the worst days, he stayed in town, taking a room at the hotel rather than risking the journey back to the ranch after dark. On one such evening, as they sat before the fire in Cassandra's small sitting room, Matt took her hand in his. "I've been thinking," he said, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. "Your 6-month trial period with the town is half over, and it's clear to everyone that you've more than proven yourself. Cassandra nodded, unsure where he was headed with this observation. "I was wondering," Matt continued, his voice taking on an uncharacteristic nervousness, "if you might consider making your stay in Hot Springs permanent." "I've already decided to stay," Cassandra assured him. "The town has been so welcoming and my practice is thriving. I can't imagine leaving now." Matt's smile was warm but determined. "That's good to hear, but I was thinking of something more specific." He took a deep breath. "I was thinking you might consider becoming my wife." Though Cassandra had begun to hope their relationship was heading in this direction, the actual proposal still took her breath away. "Matthew, I know it's fast," he said quickly. "We've known each other only a few months, but I love you, Cassandra. I love your determination, your kindness, your skill. I love the way you care for people without judgment. I love watching you build the life you've always wanted." He shifted from the chair to one knee before her, still holding her hand. "I don't want to change that life. I want to be part of it. You could keep your practice in town, live there during the week if you wanted, while I'd handle things at the ranch. Or we could build you a proper office at the Flying L if you preferred. Whatever path you choose, I just want to walk it with you." Tears welled in Cassandra's eyes, not of sadness but of overwhelming joy. In Matthew Langtry, she'd found not just a lover but a true partner, someone who saw her dreams as valuable as his own. "Yes," she whispered, then louder. "Yes, I will marry you, Matt." His smile was brilliant as he rose to kiss her, a kiss that spoke of all the love and promise between them. They were married in February, in the same hall where they danced at the harvest celebration. The entire town turned out, along with ranchers from miles around. Charlie stood as Cassandra's maid of honor, beaming with happiness for her brother. Most surprising was the arrival of two unexpected guests the day before the wedding, Calvin and their father, having made the difficult winter journey from Kansas. The reunion with her brother was joyful, but it was the conversation with her father that Cassandra would remember for years to come. Thomas Lawton was a big man made small by age, and the difficulty of admitting he'd been wrong. He stood awkwardly in Cassandra's office, hat in hands, looking at the evidence of his daughter's success. "Your brother convinced me to come," he said gruffly. "Said I'd regret it forever if I missed your wedding day." "I'm glad you're here," Cassandra said, meaning it despite the complicated emotions his presence stirred. "I've been told," he continued, staring at the floor, "that you're a fine doctor, that folks here respect you, that you've saved lives." "I've tried to help where I can," Cassandra said softly. Her father finally looked up, his eyes so like her own shining with unshed tears. "Your mother always said you had healing hands. She believed in you even when I couldn't." He swallowed hard. "I was wrong, Cassandra. I should have stood up for you, should have been proud of what you accomplished instead of afraid of what others would think." Cassandra felt her own eyes fill. "Thank you, Father. This man you're marrying," Thomas said, clearing his throat. "Calvin speaks highly of him. Says he supports your doctoring." "He does," Cassandra confirmed. "Matt believes in me completely." Her father nodded slowly. "Then he's a wiser man than I was, and you're luckier in your choice of husband than your mother was." It wasn't a perfect reconciliation, too much hurt lay between them for that, but it was a beginning. Thomas Lawton walked his daughter down the aisle the next day, placing her hand in Matt's with a gruff admonition to treasure her as she deserves. Their first year of marriage brought challenges as they adjusted to their new life together. As they'd discussed, Cassandra maintained her practice in town during the week, riding out to the ranch on Friday evenings and returning Monday mornings. Matt made improvements to the ranch house, adding a small office where Cassandra could see to medical emergencies that couldn't wait for a trip to town. The arrangement worked well, though they missed each other during their separations. Both were independent people accustomed to making their own decisions, which occasionally led to disagreements. But they faced each challenge with honesty and respect, growing stronger together with each resolution. In early spring, tragedy struck when a late blizzard caught a family traveling to their homestead. The father died of exposure trying to find help, while the mother and 3 children suffered severe frostbite. Matt found them and brought them straight to Cassandra's office in town. For 3 days, Cassandra fought to save the mother's life while also treating the children. Matt stayed by her side, assisting where he could, ensuring she ate and rested when possible. Despite their best efforts, the mother died on the 4th day, leaving 3 orphan children aged 8, 6, and 4. Exhausted and heartbroken, Cassandra broke down in Matt's arms that night. "I should have been able to save her," she sobbed. "If I'd been better trained, if I'd had more experience." "Hush," Matt said gently, stroking her hair. "You did everything possible. Sometimes that's not enough, but it doesn't mean you failed." As Cassandra slept that night, emotionally drained, Matt sat watching over her, an idea forming in his mind. The next morning he brought it up as they shared coffee. "What will happen to the children?" he asked. "Do they have family somewhere?" "The mother mentioned grandparents in Minnesota," Cassandra said. "Mayor Jenkins is trying to locate them through telegrams." Matt nodded, took a deep breath. "And if they can't be found or can't take the children, the town will find homes for them, I suppose. Split them up among families willing to take in another mouth to feed." The thought clearly troubled her. "Unless," Matt said carefully, "someone was willing to take all 3. Cassandra looked up sharply. "What are you suggesting?" "The Flying L has plenty of room," he said. "Charlie loves children. I've always wanted a family. And you," he reached across the table to take her hand, "you already care for these little ones." "You want us to adopt them?" Cassandra asked, stunned by the suggestion. "If their grandparents can't be found, yes," Matt said simply. "They need a home. We have one to offer." Cassandra stared at her husband, overcome by a fresh wave of love for this man who continued to surprise her with his generous heart. "It won't be easy," she cautioned. 3 traumatized children are work schedules." "Nothing worthwhile ever is easy," Matt replied with a small smile. "But we're good at figuring things out together." As it happened, the grandparents were located but were too elderly and infirm to take in 3 young children. After much discussion with the town council and the territorial authorities, Matt and Cassandra were granted guardianship of Emma, Joseph, and little Sarah Miller. The adjustment period was difficult for everyone. The children were grief-stricken and frightened, clinging to Cassandra who had cared for them through their ordeal. Matt moved Cassandra's practice to the ranch temporarily, converting a downstairs room into an examination room where she could see patients while remaining close to the children. Charlie proved to be a godsend, her practical nature and endless patience helping the children settle into ranch life. Joseph, the 6-year-old, began following Matt everywhere, soaking up knowledge about horses and cattle. Emma, at 8, appointed herself Cassandra's helper, solemnly organizing bandages and herbs. 4-year-old Sarah attached herself to Charlie, toddling after her with determined devotion. By summer, they had settled into a new rhythm. Cassandra split her time between the ranch office and town, bringing the children with her some days. Matt adjusted the ranch operations to allow him more time with their instant family. The Flying L became known not just for its fine horses, but for the warm welcome extended to anyone in need. In August, almost a year after Cassandra had first arrived in Hot Springs, Calvin and his new bride Martha came to visit. They stayed for 2 weeks, marveling at the changes in Cassandra's life. "I hardly recognize you," Calvin teased as they sat on the porch watching Matt teaching Joseph to ride. Dr. Lawton, rancher's wife, mother of 3. I'm still the same, Cassandra protested, though she knew it wasn't entirely true. She had grown in confidence, in capability, in the certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. You're happier, Calvin observed. It suits you. He was right. Despite the challenges, despite the occasional longing for the father who had returned to Kansas still struggling to fully accept her choices, despite the days when balancing medicine and motherhood seemed impossible, Cassandra was profoundly happy. That evening, after the children were asleep and Calvin and Martha had retired to the guest room, Cassandra and Matt sat on the porch swing, watching the stars emerge over their valley. You ever regret it? Matt asked suddenly. Taking on so much at once, the children, building your practice here. Cassandra turned to look at him, this man who had welcomed her path when others had rejected it, who had helped her build a life beyond anything she dared to dream. Never, she said firmly. Every choice I've made has led me here to this life, to you. How could I regret any of it? Matt's arm tightened around her shoulders. Even the hard days, especially those, Cassandra said, because they remind me of how much we've overcome together. In the warm summer night, with the sounds of their ranch settling around them and their children sleeping safely under their roof, Cassandra Langtry, doctor, wife, mother, knew with absolute certainty that she had found her true path. Not the one others had tried to force her onto, nor even the solitary road she'd once imagined for herself, but this shared journey with a man who valued her mind as much as her heart, who saw her strength as something to celebrate rather than subdue. I love you, Matthew Langtry, she whispered, resting her head on his shoulder. And I love you, Dr. Lawton, he replied, pressing a kiss to her hair. Today and all the days to come. 5 years later, the Flying L had expanded, as had the Langtry family. Little Thomas, named for Cassandra's father, had joined them 2 years after their marriage, followed 18 months later by twins Rebecca and Robert. Along with Emma, Joseph, and Sarah, now legally Langtrys through formal adoption, they made a lively, loving household. Cassandra's medical practice had grown as well. With Matt's encouragement, she had trained 2 young women as nurses, expanding her ability to serve the community. The Territorial Medical Board had initially balked at recognizing her qualifications, but testimonials from the people she'd saved, and Matt's dogged advocacy, had eventually won her official recognition. Thomas Lawton had gradually come to terms with his daughter's unconventional life. He visited yearly, marveling at his grandchildren and, though he rarely admitted it, proud of what Cassandra had built. Calvin and Martha had moved to Rapid City, close enough for regular visits, with Calvin working as a bank manager and Martha expecting their second child. On a crisp October day, much like the one when Matt had first found Cassandra with her broken wagon, the Langtrys hosted a celebration marking the 5th anniversary of Cassandra's arrival in Hot Springs. The entire town seemed to turn out, along with ranchers and farmers from miles around. As dusk fell, lanterns were lit around the ranch yard and music filled the air. Matt found Cassandra standing slightly apart, watching their children playing with the other youngsters. "Penny for your thoughts, Dr. Langtry," he said, slipping his arm around her waist. Cassandra leaned into his solid warmth. "I was just thinking how different my life might have been if my wagon wheel hadn't broken that day, if you hadn't come along. I'd like to think we'd have found each other somehow," Matt said. "Some paths are meant to cross." Cassandra smiled up at the man who had changed her life with a simple act of acceptance. "I'm glad ours did. Speaking of paths," Matt said, "I got a letter from the territorial governor yesterday. He's establishing a medical commission to improve health care in rural areas." Wants you to serve on it." Cassandra stared at him in shock. "Me? But I'm just a country doctor," Matt chuckled. "A country doctor who's delivered over 100 babies, performed surgeries that doctors in Chicago would hesitate to attempt, and trained nurses who are now serving communities throughout the territory. Your reputation has spread, my love." Pride and determination welled in Cassandra's heart. "If I accept, it will mean more time away from home, from you and the children. And we'll manage just as we always have," Matt assured her. "Your path is still welcome here, Cassandra. It always will be, but that doesn't mean it can't extend beyond our borders sometimes." In the gathering darkness, with the music playing and their family and friends celebrating around them, Cassandra kissed her husband, this remarkable man who had seen her value from the first moment, who had never once asked her to be less than she was. "I love you," she whispered against his lips. "I know," Matt replied with a smile. "Now come dance with me, Dr. Langtry. We have a lot to celebrate." And as they moved together under the stars, surrounded by the life they'd built from courage and acceptance and love, Cassandra knew that of all the paths she might have taken, this one, winding and challenging and utterly unexpected, was exactly where she was meant to be.